extraordinary. Meghan Markle's close friends have revealed that she has been secretly recording her autobiography designed to bring down the British royal family on her iPhone in voice notes for years, including when she was still a member of the British royal family. Prince Harry must be like, what? What? They're plotting this now?
Let me be very clear about something before we go any further. Harry thinks he has an exit plan. He thinks he can walk away from California, walk away from the marriage, walk away from the whole disaster he created, and somehow rebuild. Somehow go home. Somehow get his family back, get his father back, get his life back. And here is the thing that nobody around Harry seems willing to say to his face. His wife has been documenting everything, every fight, every phone call, every private moment inside that marriage. Voice notes recorded at 1 a.m, written journals, structured reflections, methodical, deliberate, years-long documentation. And it reportedly started before Megxit even happened.
Harry doesn't seem to understand that his life is going to be forever changed once he decides to do what he wants to do. And I know that is to no longer stay in California and to have his life back.
Harry doesn't have an exit plan. He has a trap, and Meghan Markle built it around him while he was still standing in it. That is what we are going to walk through today. Every layer of this. Because this is not just a story about a failing marriage or a crumbling brand. This is a story about strategy. Cold, calculated, long-game strategy by a woman who has been preparing for the end of this marriage since before most people believed the marriage was in trouble. And the evidence is now sitting in plain sight, dropped of all places, inside a piece that was clearly briefed by Harry and Meghan themselves to make them look powerful. Think about that for a second. The couple's own propaganda operation accidentally confirmed the threat that Meghan poses to her own husband. That is where we are. That is how badly this has unraveled. So let us go through it properly, because you deserve the full picture. It starts with a Daily Mail piece by a writer named Dominic Hines. Now this matters because context is everything here. Just the week before this piece ran, Alison Boshoff, editor-at-large of the very same newspaper, a woman with serious sourcing inside Hollywood and Netflix, had published a devastating account of Meghan's standing in that world. The takeaway from that piece was stark and specific. Anna Wintour reportedly cannot stand her. Lauren Sanchez allegedly has no time for her. The Kardashians are described as basically done with the whole situation. And Nicole Avant, wife of Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos, a woman Meghan has worked very hard to keep close, is said to hate her behind her back. That is the Daily Mail's own reporting. Published in the Daily Mail by the Daily Mail's own editor-at-large. And then, within the same week, the same newspaper runs a piece by Dominic Hines that reads like it was dictated directly from Meghan's kitchen table in Montecito. The same Nicole Avant, who allegedly hates Meghan behind her back, is suddenly repositioned in the Hines piece as one of Meghan's most loyal allies.
Yes, for real, for real. Oh my goodness, this article is just laughable. I can't believe anything in this. What in the world is this woman thinking? I mean, Harry and Meghan.
The same Hollywood circles that had reportedly closed their doors are suddenly cast as a powerful, quietly supportive network. And Oprah Winfrey, the woman behind the single most damaging interview the royal family has ever faced, is presented as a warm, generous mentor who sends fruit from her garden to Archie and Lilibet and picks out birthday presents.
And guess who's behind all of this? Oprah goddamn Winfrey. As if your respect, Opes, hadn't gone down in our estimations enough since that Tissue of Lies interview.
This is a newspaper running two completely contradictory narratives in the same week, and only one of them was written by someone with independent sourcing. The other one was written by someone who, and this is the charitable interpretation, was handed a brief by the Sussex operation and ran with it. That is what you need to understand going in. The Hines piece is not journalism. It is a message. It was designed to send a signal, and the signal is aimed at several audiences at once. It is aimed at Hollywood. Look how many powerful people still support us. It is aimed at Netflix. The relationship is still viable. Please do not pull the plug entirely. It is aimed at the royal family. There is a book coming, and it will be very large, and you should factor that into your calculations. And it is aimed at Harry. Specifically, the parts about how Meghan does not want the book to be a book of grievances. The parts about how she is supportive of Harry's efforts to stabilize things with King Charles. The parts about how she is carefully weighing what to say against the bigger picture. That entire section reads like a message to a nervous husband. It says, "I am not going to burn everything down. I am being careful. You can trust me." And the fact that it had to be said at all tells you exactly how frightened Harry should be.
What Meghan Markle's real goal is with this autobiography. And it's bad. It's bad for the royal family. It's bad for Prince Harry. And she needs the moolah. And that's what this is all about.
Let us talk about Oprah Winfrey, because her role in this story is not incidental, and it is not warm and friendly, whatever the Heinz piece wants you to believe. Oprah has been part of this from the very beginning. According to the reporting, Meghan met with Oprah before her wedding and they discussed a potential interview. Meghan reportedly said the timing was not right yet. Read that again. Before the wedding. Before Meghan had even become the Duchess of Sussex, she was already in conversation with Oprah Winfrey about the interview that would eventually be watched by 17 million Americans, 12 million Britons, and tens of millions more around the world. That is not a spontaneous conversation between a woman in crisis reaching out to a mentor. That is pre-production. That is a woman who understood before she walked down the aisle at Windsor Castle that she was collecting material, that she was building towards something, that the marriage itself, the royal access, the titles, the insider information, was content. And Oprah, according to what is now emerging, was not just a shoulder to cry on. She was, if the sourcing in the Heinz piece is to be believed, actively involved in shaping where Meghan appeared publicly and where she did not. It was reportedly Oprah who encouraged Meghan and Harry to attend Kris Jenner's 75th birthday party at Jeff Bezos' Beverly Hills home last November. That event ended in disaster when the couple reportedly asked for photos posted by Kim Kardashian and Kris Jenner to be removed from their social media, citing sensitivity around Remembrance Day in the UK. But the Heinz piece, Meghan's own briefed narrative, admits it was not just about Remembrance Day.
The Sussexes still want to be seen as above the celebrity fray. This is, again, so stupid. You're hanging out at a celebrity party where there are paparazzi outside, and then you're saying that you want to drop the photos from all the picture agencies because you want to be above the celebrity fray.
The real reason, according to sources, is that the Sussexes still want to be seen as above the celebrity fray. Let that land. They attended a lavish James Bond-themed celebrity party at a tech billionaire's Beverly Hills mansion. They showed up specifically, according to Oprah's reported advice, to rub shoulders with Jeff Bezos. And then they wanted the pictures removed because they wanted to be seen as above the celebrity fray. You cannot make this up. And whose fault is that, by the way? According to the Heinz piece's framing, and this is extraordinary, it is Oprah's fault. Oprah encouraged them to go. It all went badly. Therefore, the responsibility sits with Oprah. This is the same playbook they have used repeatedly. When Harry wore a Nazi uniform to a costume party, the suggestion floated that William and Catherine bore some responsibility. When the Oprah interview detonated across the royal family, the couple cast themselves as reluctant truth-tellers pushed to a breaking point. There is always someone else whose influence accounts for the disaster. There is always an external force to absorb the blame. What there never is, what there has never once been, is a moment where either of them looked at a decision and said, "We made that choice, and we own the consequences." Now let us get to the core of what this piece actually revealed. Because buried inside all the Hollywood name-dropping and the warm framing about female friendship and Black Power networks, there is a disclosure that should be sending shockwaves through Kensington Palace, Buckingham Palace, and a certain rented house in Montecito where a prince is reportedly trying to figure out how to leave. Meghan has been taking notes, not casually, methodically. According to a publishing insider quoted in the piece, and remember, this is Meghan's own briefed narrative, meaning she chose to allow this information to be confirmed, she has been recording voice notes on her iPhone, keeping written journals, making structured reflections, and documenting everything that has happened since before Megxit. Voice notes at 1 in the morning. Think about what that means. 1 in the morning. After what? After a fight? After a phone call? After a difficult dinner or a humiliating public moment or a private conversation that only 2 people in the world were present for? Those voice notes exist. They are sitting on a phone or backed up to a server somewhere, and they go back years, and they capture, in Meghan's own voice, in real time, her account of events that the rest of the world has only ever heard filtered through press releases and carefully staged interviews. And what is the destination for all of this material? The autobiography. The book that the Heinz piece describes as potentially the biggest global entertainment coup of them all. A memoir that would not just be a book, but a multi-platform event. Global publishing rights, an interview special, a streaming component. designed, according to publishing insiders, to surpass the numbers achieved by Harry's own memoir, Spare, which sold over 1.4 million copies on its first day. Bigger than Spare, built on years.
What Meghan Markle's real goal is with this autobiography. And it's bad. It's bad for the royal family. It's bad for Prince Harry. And she needs the moolah. And that's what this is all about.
Of documentation, with Oprah Winfrey attached for the interview. With Netflix, through Nicole Avant's reported involvement, potentially tied to a structured multi-part rollout. This is not a rumor anymore. This is the plan. And it has been the plan for a very long time. Here is what makes this genuinely extraordinary, and I want you to stay with me on this because the implications go in multiple directions. The Hines piece frames the autobiography primarily as a threat to the British royal family, and yes, of course it is. A book by Meghan Markle, built on years of documented private moments, co-produced with Oprah Winfrey, tied to a Netflix series, arriving with the full force of a coordinated media campaign. That is a serious threat to the monarchy. It is a threat to King Charles, who is dealing with his own health challenges while trying to navigate a relationship with a son he has reportedly been tentatively reconnecting with. It is a threat to the Prince and Princess of Wales, who have already been subjected to accusations that were made in public with no right of response. It is a threat to an institution that has survived centuries precisely because it controls the narrative around itself. All of that is true. All of that is real. But here is the thing that the Hines piece buries in corporate language and softening framing, and here is the thing that cuts right to the bone. That threat is also aimed at Harry. Harry has reportedly been trying to stabilize his relationship with his father. He has reportedly been seeking some form of connection for his children, Archie and Lilibet, with King Charles through calls and video visits. He reportedly wants to come home, to have his life back, to step out of the California arrangement and rebuild something on the other side. And the minute he takes that step, the minute he actually moves toward doing what he reportedly wants to do, the autobiography becomes a weapon pointed directly at him. Every private conversation they have ever had, every moment of vulnerability inside that marriage, every fight, every grievance, every version of events that Meghan recorded at 1 a.m. when only she was awake and taking notes. All of it becomes the property of a book deal worth more than Harry's own memoir. All of it gets framed in Meghan's language, from Meghan's perspective, shaped by Meghan's editorial choices and Oprah's interview instincts and Netflix's platform ambitions. Harry does not control any of that. He was not in the room when those voice notes were recorded. He did not sign off on what went into the journals. He has no visibility into what has been documented, what has been preserved, what has been set aside for strategic use. He does not even know what he does not know. And that is the most dangerous position a person can be in. Let us talk about Nicole Avant for a moment, because her inclusion in this piece is fascinating and reveals more than the writer perhaps intended. Alison Boshoff's reporting, remember, this is from the same newspaper, described Nicole Avant as someone who allegedly cannot deal with Meghan, who reportedly hates her behind her back, who is, according to sources with real access to the Netflix world, privately done with the whole Sussex situation. The Hines piece tries to walk all of that back. It describes Avant as someone who has at times been emotional in her support of Meghan, who has been there during moments when Meghan was overwhelmed, who was seen holding hands with Meghan and embracing her at a Netflix gathering in April, a display described by sources as purposeful unity. And then, almost as an aside, the piece reveals that Avant has reportedly been behind the scenes fostering conversations about how Meghan's autobiography could be developed in partnership with Netflix as a structured multi-part rollout tied to the book's release. So here is what you are actually looking at. A woman who is allegedly privately critical of Meghan. A woman whose husband runs Netflix. Netflix, which has a complicated and reportedly diminished relationship with the Sussex brand. And this same woman is reportedly involved in negotiating the terms of the biggest commercial project Meghan has ever attempted. Why would someone who allegedly cannot stand Meghan be sitting at the table negotiating her book deal? The answer is in the numbers. The answer is always in the numbers. If this autobiography lands the way it is apparently designed to land, global publishing rights, Oprah interview special, Netflix series, the financial return is enormous. Nicole Avant's proximity to that deal is not about female friendship. It is not about racial solidarity. It is about the fact that her husband's platform stands to benefit from the biggest royal expose since the last one that Oprah helped produce. These are not mentors. These are investors assessing a return. And that distinction matters enormously, because investors walk away when the numbers stop working. Mentors absorb losses out of loyalty. Nobody in this circle is operating on loyalty. They are operating on projected revenue, on audience appetite, on the calculated bet that the royal family's private life still sells. The moment those projections shift, the moment the market decides it has had enough of the Sussex narrative, every single one of these powerful women who have been photographed holding Meghan's hand at Netflix, events will reassess their position with remarkable speed. That is not cynicism. That is just how this world operates. And Meghan, of all people, should know it by now. And Shonda Rhimes. Let us be honest about Shonda Rhimes. The framing in the Hines piece is that Rhimes's support matters less in a visible promotional sense and more in terms of positioning, that her proximity to the Netflix ecosystem gives Meghan credibility and access. What nobody in the piece says out loud, but what is sitting there between every line, is that if Meghan and Harry had engaged Shonda Rhimes' production company from the beginning, their Netflix content might actually have been good. Rhimes delivers hits. Grey's Anatomy. Bridgerton. She understands what audiences want, how stories are constructed, how to hold attention across multiple seasons and platforms. The Sussexes did not do that. They walked into Netflix with the assumption that their names and their access and their willingness to perform vulnerability was sufficient. It was not sufficient. It has never been sufficient. And now, after the deals have underperformed, after the content has failed to generate the cultural footprint it needed to justify the investment, after Hollywood has reportedly distanced itself in ways that Alison Boshoff's own reporting documented in detail, now Meghan is apparently listening to Shonda Rhimes. She wants to be in the writer's room, apparently. She wants to shape content rather than perform in it. She is studying executive producing. She is learning about production development and decision-making. Too late. Too late. Too late. The credibility window for that pivot closed a long time ago. You do not learn on the job at this level. You either walk in with demonstrated ability or you do not walk in at all. And the track record now exists. The record is not good. No amount of positioning around powerful women in Hollywood changes what has already been produced and what audiences have already responded to, or failed to respond to. The irony, and it is a sharp one, is that the Sussex brand was at its most commercially viable precisely when they refused to be guided by people who actually understood the industry. When the Netflix deal was announced, the goodwill was real, the curiosity was genuine, and the numbers on offer reflected that moment in time. They squandered it, not because the opportunity was not there, but because they were constitutionally incapable of accepting that the audience gets to decide whether you are interesting, and the audience decided. Now they are circling back to the very expertise they dismissed when it mattered, presenting the move as growth and evolution. It is not growth. It is damage control dressed up in the language of ambition. Now, let us come back to the question that sits at the center of all of this. What does Harry do? By all accounts, and the Hines piece, interestingly, does not deny this, it simply tries to manage it, Harry's objective is to find a way back. Back to his family, back to his country, back to something that resembles the life he walked away from when he followed Meghan out of the institution. He reportedly wants to reconnect with King Charles. He reportedly wants his children to have a relationship with their grandfather. He reportedly wants to step away from California. And every single one of those objectives puts him directly in the crosshairs of the documentation his wife has apparently been building for years. Think about what a divorce looks like in that context. Think about what a separation, formal or informal, looks like against the backdrop of a woman who has been recording voice notes at 1 a.m, keeping structured journals, building a documented account of everything that has happened inside the marriage. The autobiography does not even need to be explicitly about the divorce. It does not need to name fights or detail specific conversations. The mere existence of those voice notes, those journals, that documented record, sitting in Meghan's possession, shaped by Meghan's editorial perspective, packaged by a team that includes Oprah Winfrey and potentially Nicole Avant's Netflix connections, is enough. It is leverage. The piece actually uses that word. A memoir is leverage. And leverage only functions when the other party knows it exists and cannot neutralize it. Harry cannot neutralize it. He was not in the room. He does not control the narrative. He does not have a competing record because he is not apparently the kind of person who takes notes at 1 a.m. He is, by all available evidence, a man who trusted his wife, who believed that the relationship was private, who did not understand that he was living inside someone else's long-term content strategy. There is a moment in the source material here that deserves to be held up and examined carefully. The Hines piece, in its attempt to soften the thread of the autobiography, says that Meghan wants the book to reflect where she is going, not where she has been. that she does not want it to be a book of grievances, that she is acutely aware of the fallout from the Oprah interview and from Harry's spare. Read that for what it is. That is a warning dressed up as reassurance. That is someone who knows she holds explosive material, saying publicly in a briefed piece that she is choosing to be careful with it. For now, weighing the bigger picture, keeping future options open, keeping future options open. That is not the language of someone who has made peace with the past and wants to move forward. That is the language of someone who wants every relevant party to know that the material exists, that it is real, that she controls it, and that her current restraint is a choice she is making rather than a limitation she is operating under. The threat is structural. It does not need to be executed to be effective. It simply needs to exist. And according to what has now been confirmed, dropped into a piece that was clearly designed to make Meghan look powerful and supported and strategic, it does exist. Years of it. Voice notes, journals, documented methodically. The royal family knows. Harry's team, if he has people around him with any sense at all, knows. And Harry himself is now living with the knowledge that the life he wants to reclaim, the reconciliation he apparently wants to achieve, the future he has been quietly working toward, all of it has a shadow hanging over it in the form of a book that has apparently been in development since before he and Meghan even left the United Kingdom. Here is what we know for certain, and I want to be precise about this. We know that Meghan has reportedly been taking notes, voice notes, and keeping journals documenting events in the marriage for years. That is not speculation. That was confirmed in a piece apparently briefed by the Sussex operation by a publishing insider. We know that the goal is an autobiography designed to be a multi-platform global event, bigger than Spare, tied to a Netflix deal, with Oprah Winfrey attached for an interview special. That is the plan, as described by sources familiar with the project. We know that Oprah Winfrey has been involved in this longer than most people realized, reportedly meeting with Meghan before the wedding to discuss a potential interview, with Meghan at that point apparently saying only that the timing was not right yet. We know that Harry reportedly wants to leave California, reconnect with his father, and rebuild something resembling a normal life. And we know that the moment he moves toward any of those objectives, the autobiography, and all the documented material behind it, becomes the most powerful card in Meghan's hand. That is not a set of circumstances that happened to this couple. That is not external pressure from tabloids or the royal institution or the British public. That is the consequence of a specific series of choices made by a specific person over a period of years. Meghan Markle did not stumble into this position. She built it. Carefully, methodically, one voice note at a time. Harry stumbled into it by not paying attention to what was being built around him. And that is perhaps the most revealing thing about both of them. She was always thinking 10 moves ahead. He was barely thinking about the move in front of him. Every time there was a decision to be made, leave the royal family, give the Oprah interview, publish Spare, walk away from every institution that might have provided protection, Harry made the choice that felt emotionally satisfying in the moment and catastrophic in the long run. He chose short-term relief over structural security every single time. And Meghan, to her credit, in the most clinical possible sense, understood that about him and built her entire strategy around it. She did not need to manipulate a complicated man. She needed only to keep a simple one comfortable enough to stay in place while the architecture went up around him. And now he is standing in the architecture of a plan he did not design, did not consent to, and apparently did not see coming. While the woman who built it sits in Montecito with Oprah's phone number, Nicole Avant's ear, and years of documented material that she alone controls. The exit plan has a fatal flaw. The flaw is that it was never Harry's exit plan to begin with. It was always hers. If you've been watching this story unfold and you knew from the beginning how it would end, you belong here. Palace Leaks covers what the mainstream press is too polite to say plainly. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Because this story is far from over, and every new chapter proves the point.